Today we are starting language, culture, and identity, class 6. Today is the second presentation about Philipson chapter 2, which is English, the dominant language. The group who's going to present this is composed by Giovanna, Marina, Raissa, and Maria Helena. And I'm going to give you the word right now. Do you have any questions before the girls start?
No.
Okay, so girls, if you need to share the screen, I think you know what to do. We are already online. We are already starting the class.
Okay, hi. My name is Giovanna, and I want to ask you to please bear with us because we are all very nervous. Okay, and our friend couldn't. She's sick, so yeah, just bear with us.
Okay, I hope she gets better soon, and it will be no problem for the group, okay? The whole group will be evaluated based on the production, the collective production. So don't worry about this.
Okay.
I'll close my microphone, sorry.
Okay, so we are going to present the second chapter. Is the name is English, the dominant language, and we divided the chapter into 4 pieces, basically. But I think for now we are going to skip this part because, well, our friend couldn't present this part. So, Marina, can you please start?
So, hello guys, good morning. First of all, I'm sorry if you hear any noise. My neighbors are very noisy, right? So, this first part would be Elena, but she don't feel nice. So, I'm trying to a presentation for her, right? So, okay. My part is English in periphery English countries. So I bring the definition of these two acronyms, ESL and EFL countries. What does that mean? So it means English as a second language. The conventional definition of ESL countries are countries in which English is not a native language, but where it used widely as a medium of communication in domains such as education and government. This is so in Nigeria or Singapore. The English as foreign language. In EFL countries, English is not a matter of instruction, but is learned at school for communicating with speakers of the language or for reading texts in the language. Is the case of France or Japan. So, in other words, the EFL is studied by peoples that don't live in a core or SL English country and need to learn it for their studies or their career, while ESL countries have a second large number of English speakers. For example, Bangladesh's official language is known as Bangla or Bengali and is spoken by the vast majority of the population. Due to the British colonization of the country, English is also spoken and would be categorized as ESL, but the amount of English that Bangladeshi children are exposed to is so small that teaching should be organized as for an EFL situation, right? So can you pass Ivana the slides, please? Okay, this image mostra, né, of the term ESL is also standard in the USA to describe programs teaching English to people with a language or the English as the mother tongue. Pass. So the next topic is the type of English. Some ESL periphery English countries are in the process of establishing their own norms for Indian English, West African English, and so on. Then, this causes very important issue for the process of learning or receiving the English language. So let me hear your opinion, guys. Do you think that they form one language or are now several Englishes? What do you think?
Class?
I think they form several languages.
I'm sorry, I was trying to use a headphone, but I think I prefer the natural ones. What do you think, class? What happened to English? Is it one language, or are there several Englishes?
I think there are many English around this. It's not
Yeah,
just one English, it's many.
let's let's reflect a bit about our situation in Brazil. Being as you as students being trained in the language, do you feel you are being trained to understand all the Englishes?
No, I don't think so, but I think we can understand parts of English, like for example, the English in Australia or in other countries, but sometimes I think we don't understand this.
Yeah, you're being trained to understand what we call international English. This is the tendency. Let me just take a look at the chat. Some people are writing here. Um, so Natalia says that several languages, each country adds something new. We contribute somehow. Yes, as we Brazilians also contribute with the language. Of course, this contribution is not symmetrical, but my question here is, have you ever talked to some native in English from a country which is not those hegemonic ones like United States, Canada, England, and Australia? Have you ever talked to somebody from what Philipson calls periphery Englishes? Have you ever had this opportunity?
I did. I
You
used
did?
to, yes, with an Indian.
An Indian? And can
Yeah.
you tell us about your experience? Was it easy understanding him or her?
Not exactly.
Mm. What did you?
I think the basic English, like the base that we know, we all know, it was it was easy to understand, but there were some words that I just couldn't fit in what I knew of English. So it was kind of hard, but not impossible because it was still English.
Yeah. Somebody said, Natalia said, no, not Natalia. Yes, Natalia said that she had a Pakistani English teacher. How was it, Natalia? How did you feel about it? Jonathan is talking about a Russian friend he has, and probably you communicate with him in English too. So I'd like to hear from Natalia, and then I'd like to hear about from Jonathan your experiences with these different Englishes. Natalia said very hard because I was learning and I have to get used to his accent. Yeah, accent is one of the aspects that people mention the most. Uh, Natalia, don't you have? Can't you speak, Natalia? Don't you have a microphone to report us, even in Portuguese, if you would like? Would you, Jonathan? While Natalia gets ready to speak, would you talk? Would you tell us about your Russian friend?
Yeah, good morning,
Good
everybody.
morning.
I work in a museum, so I had contact with a lot of people from other countries that speak English.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Russian, I had no problems because he speaks he tries to speak with an American accent, as I do. So I understand well, and we're still in contact since he has gone to the museum. So we're still talking. We still sometimes he calls to me and we talk like, oh, how has been in Russia, and I spoke to him how are in Brazil. That is bad, but uh, I understand very well. I had a problem with a family from Holland
Yeah, tell us about
because we have in the museum a coffee shop.
it. Mm-hmm.
And in Holland, I didn't knew that coffee shop means some place that sells
Yeah.
weed to smoke. And so I said, oh, and now we have a coffee shop here. And they started all to smile, like, oh, you have a coffee shop? Are you sure? You don't
Mm.
have a cafeteria? and
Uh-huh.
and then the dad explaining to me why they don't say coffee shop to a place that sells coffee, but weed. But that
Yeah.
was the only problem with accent. I didn't have any problem.
Yeah, so we have a phonetic variation, we have a lexicon variation. There are several ways and several expressions that mean a lot to a nation but don't mean anything to others or mean a different thing to others. So these are the different appropriations of English, and these appropriations are made by hegemonic nations and also by non-hegemonic nations. In the slide, in the girls' slides here, I see examples of Frenglish, which is the mixture between French and English, Winglish, which is Welsh plus English, Black English in the United States, Spanglish, Nigerian Pidgin. I had a Nigerian student of Portuguese, and it was really difficult understanding her accent, and it's not because of her accent uh, is somehow how can I say, it's not a problem with her or with her language. It's a problem with our process of teaching and learning in Brazil, which makes us able only to understand what they call standard English, standard American English. So when you get face to face with someone that does not speak the standard, you get a bit lost. So it was expected that English would be the language of contact, the language for the mediation for me to teach Portuguese to her. But I couldn't. And this forced us to understand each other, not only in Portuguese, but also to negotiate our Englishes. So somebody said something in the chat. Natalia said she was looking for her earphone. I don't know if she found it.
I
She
found
said,
it.
okay. So tell us about your Pakistani teacher and your Nigerian friend. How did you feel about
Well,
their English?
well, the first one was very hard because I was like 12, 14. I was studying in a language school, and he was my teacher. And he couldn't speak Portuguese so well. And it was kind of hard, like, oh, I didn't understand this one. Can you please repeat and explain everything in English, everything? And he couldn't speak Portuguese at all. and it was kind of hard because it's very different, his accent. So
And sometimes it gets embarrassing, yeah, asking someone to repeat
yeah,
over.
yeah, it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry.
Go on.
And this same school, there was a American teacher, but he wasn't my teacher, and I was kind of afraid every time that he was like close to us, and it was like, oh, let's hide of him because we didn't want to talk to him because we were afraid of the teacher. Like he speaks very fast. Oh my God, it was very hard. And the
Yeah.
Nigerian guy I met at NCL, and he was visit some classes, and his accent is it looks like the British one.
Yeah, but with a lot of peculiar
Yeah,
features, wasn't it?
yeah, because the word means different things, and I thought that he was talking about something, but he was talking about another thing. I had to ask some things to him, so kind of different.
Yeah, my student from Nigeria, I had lots of problems understanding her accent because it was like British, but even more exaggerated in the dropping of the final R in the words and so on.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
some vowels were pronounced differently. She used to call me Mr. Ushua. And that there was a day I couldn't teach her, and I was substituted, and she said, but I want to have classes with Mr. Ushua. Mr. Ushua is my teacher. And there was a funny moment. I wouldn't tell it because it's recording now, but when we stop recording, I'll tell you an anecdote that happened in class with her, which was very funny, very embarrassing, but very funny. And I had to say I needed to go to the bathroom, but in fact I needed to go outside and laugh a bit because she said something that in Portuguese would be horrible, but she was kind of innocent. Anyway, so have you ever heard about the movie Spanglish?
The movie.
Yeah, there's a movie called Spanglish.
Just Giovanna.
No.
Yeah, it's a movie about an immigrant from Mexico in the United States. I think it's a good suggestion if you would like to know about varieties of English, the English spoken, because we are in a situation now that racism is part of the agenda to be discussed. Racism, xenophobia, and so on. And Spanglish is all about that. It's about the way your language tells people where you are from. The way you speak English will tell people where you belong to. So I just suggest the movie if you would like to take a look. Okay, you can continue the presentation. I'll mute my microphone.
Okay, so in the book, the author cites the example of literature. So many literature writers from peripheral English countries have refashioned the English language according to their own linguistic and cultural needs. This shows the ability to blend their own culture with the canons of certain genres. So in this slide, I bring this movie, right? And in English, this movie shows a woman who left her country without knowing English, and after she enters in the English course, she meets some people who are there with the same goal as herself. It is interesting to note that they are people with different cultures, with the same interest in communicating. So somehow these people end up incorporating their culture and the learning process, right? Next, Jill. English domination by the educational system. In the book, he brings some characteristics by the domination of English. So the relationship between learning of languages in the educational establishments and use of language for a range of societal purposes are not a simple one, but there's no doubt that education is of paramount importance in transmitting values and modes of thought from one generation to the next. O livro ele cita vários, ele incorpora mais assim na parte sobre o inglês na dominação através do sistema educacional na África e na Ásia. Então ele fala.
You can make a bridge with Portuguese too, okay?
Okay. So he says that the importance of English in such African and Asian peripheral English countries is twofold, because English has a dominant role internally, so occupying space that other languages could possibly fill. English is also key external link in politics, commerce, science, technology, military alliance, entertainment, and tourism. The relationship between English and other languages is an unequal one, and this has important consequences in almost all spheres of life. Past you. So in China, the English domination, as it was a medium of education at the universities run by British and American missionaries in Beijing and Shanghai. The bilingualism in China was made from the need for international communication among themselves, and with the purpose of facilitating the learning of the language. So guys, this is my part. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, Isa. Where are you? Okay. Elena, she says she's feeling a little bit better, so she wants to present her part. So
Good.
we're just waiting for her to get into the class, I guess.
Okay, we wait for her. As soon as she asks, I'll approve her. Elena's not in the meeting, not here yet. Waiting for her.
Okay, but while we wait, I want to ask you guys a question that I would ask in my part, but I don't think it makes sense if I ask there, so I'll just vou aproveitar esse momento para perguntar. Can you imagine um cenário where scenario. Yes, a scenario where English were to be a official language in Brazil. I want to know the difficulties, the hardships, and all the things that would happen if that for some reason were to be a thing, were to really happen here in Brazil.
Let me see if I understood your question. If we can imagine English being our official language.
Official language, yes. Not second, not
yeah,
foreign.
even our second language, maybe. in a case of trilingualism, because we always forget that Libras is a language, but we are already bilingual. Can you imagine, guys, English becoming that important, like being established as our second or even official language? This is a
I
question.
think we could have more influence, more than we have for the United States and England in the past, because Brazil was colonized by Portugal, but England contribute a lot. Um, and our English would be like a mix, like our Portuguese is very different in different parts of Brazil. But talking about the culture, I think it would be very different. Very different. Take some different aspects from the US, because we are very fluent. Even we do speak English as the first language. Imagine if it were.
Yeah, and becoming an official language maybe would reduce, or a second language. I'd put the a most probable scenario, which is the second language scenario. It would be the social differences of those who speak English and those who don't, maybe would be reduced somehow, but even so, there would be different Englishes, different levels of proficiency, and these different levels of proficiency maybe would serve as social distinction. Don't you think so?
We will have other scenarios of politics and social constructions
Yeah.
in universities, in schools. The level of the learning will be different, and the diplomacy is right, with other countries. And I think that in South America, the relation with the other countries with more, I don't know, that racism with other countries, because language English is status.
Yeah.
Maybe this way the United States would know us better.
Yeah. Well, but is it necessary that we speak the language of some country to be affected and dominated somehow, to some extent, not completely dominated,
No,
but
I
dominated
was
by?
going to say that.
Yes, Jonathan, can you repeat that?
No, I was going to say that is not exactly needed to turn into an official language to be subservient to a country. This actual government of Brazil is an example of it. It's totally subservient to a country that don't gives a matter to the government of Brazil. So
Mhm.
it's not needed to be official.
Yeah, maybe. And well, I'd say that the government is the reflex of its people. And we see that the problem is not only with the government, but if you take a look at the demonstrations, uh, the anti-democratic demonstrations that have been taking place here in Brazil, we see lots of flags of the United States and Israel being carried by the demonstrators, which shows a lot about how these people conceive their idea of nation, their idea of geopolitics, their idea or their lack of ideas, maybe, of sovereignty, being sovereign. Do you understand sovereign? Soberano. So sovereignty is in the issue again. It's a topic to be discussed, because what we see is a desire, and this can be even psychoanalytically explained, a desire for being the other, for consuming the image of the other, for being the foreigner, what we call the stray complex, complexo de vira-lata. Elena, Would you present your part now? How do you feel? Are you okay now?
Yes.
Okay, hope you feel completely recovered soon.
Gente, bom dia. Vou alternar entre o inglês e o português. Tá bom?
Okay.
Desculpa pela voz. First, you have to know the main English-speaking countries that are USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and the dominant holiday they have and the peripheral English-speaking countries. When we put one language and the most important, we generally exclude the existence of others, and the fact of being bilingual and even multilingual can be affected, mainly in the dominant English-speaking countries that for a long time using monolingualism. One question for you guys. Do you believe that monolingualism is still happens today?
If we believe that monolingualism still happens today, you mean in Brazil?
Em geral, se ainda existe.
What do you feel, class?
I don't know. This question made me think a lot about it. But well, I don't think so. But it can be possible because the fact that we always forgot with the Libras here in Brazil is an example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and monolingualism and bilingualism is not an individual issue, it's a social issue. So many people of the country may speak English or any other language, such as Spanish, but if we don't speak it, if we don't have a policy to encourage that, to regulate that, officially and technically, that nation, that country would still be monolingual. Uh, in Brazil, as you said, we are bilingual, but we forget about that because there's some prejudice about Libras or some erasing effect that we forget that Libras is a language. But, well, maybe in very isolated communities, which we don't get in touch with foreign languages, I don't know, some small communities that speak but only one language and don't get in touch. Officially, monolingualism is still a reality, but I'd not talk about the present moment. I'd make a projection. The projections are for the spread of English, the an even higher spread of English. So maybe bilingualism is a tendency. Don't you think so?
Okay.
At least bilingualism. At least bilingualism. What are the bilingual nations you know? We talked a lot about Canada. We talked a lot about Paraguay. You know other nations which are bilingual? India, yes. India is not only bilingual, it has several languages, 22, but officially English and Hindi.
We have a lot of African countries that is not
Mhm.
only bilingual as you said, but multilingual because have a lot of languages inside the countries.
Yeah, when you look at the advertisements from English courses in Brazil, some of them use the flags of the nations to make those banners, to make those signs on the wall. What are the most frequent flags you see? The American flag, the British flag. What else?
The British.
The British. What else?
Australia.
Australia, Canada. Somebody said in the chat, Cynthia. Why do you? I want a reflection from you. Why do you think they don't present us with the flag of Ghana or with the flag of South Africa or India or Nigeria? Why is
It's related to colonization, right?
sorry, Natalia?
It's related to colonization.
Yeah. So why is this erasing effect of African countries? With this news about coronavirus, people talked about the situation in China. People talked about the horrible situation we faced in Italy, in Germany, even here in Brazil. But do you see the news about African countries?
Não,
Has
So,
the
isso não,
has the
isso não gera.
pandemic not happened there?
Os países africanos não geram lucros para as empresas da mídia por questões sociais e de embargos econômicos, embargos sociais, culturais, em que, como lá não está na mídia, aquela cultura, aquela forma de viver, ou até mesmo bons exemplos de administração pública, sabe-se lá, eles não cabem aparecer nas grandes mídias. E aí você só consegue saber isso por portais independentes que fazem tipo de jornalismo assim.
Yeah.
it's the most pure and simple prejudice.
Prejudice, yeah, maybe. This is nice what you said, Igor, about independent portals, because now with the spread of fake news, this has not much to do with our theme, but it has a lot to do with authority and authorized discourse, which is our next topic in Michel Foucault. With the spread of fake news, they are creating agencies of fact checking. And who are the agencies? What are they composed of? They are composed of traditional media, Época, Estadão, Folha, and so on. So they are now the authorities to say what is fake and what is not fake. Of course, I'm not here advocating fake news, but I mean, they are not the only of the truth either. So, but they try to claim this role as fact-checking. So if they don't check the fact, it's not a fact. And we know we have other independent media. We like it or not. Yeah.
I understand, but in this case, specifically in this case, I feel that this is there's a journalism against ignorance of any sites, any blog sites. But
yeah,
I understand.
I know that. But the problem is when you say, okay, we are going to build fact-check agencies. We are going to come up with fact-check agencies. And these fact-check agencies are those in the media. Sorry, in the traditional media. We forget the fact that there are journalists, serious journalists, such as, for example, those guys who work in Global, André Viana, a friend of mine called Leonardo Atushi, who runs Brasil 247, or Fábio Panuzio, which we cannot say is a it's a left-wing journalist. And they are running independent blogs. They are journalists. They have the necessary profile, the necessary formative process to be a journalist, but they are excluded from this fact-check agency. So, furo de Rodrigo Viana da vida hoje pode ser considerado fake news porque não passou por uma agência de verificação de notícias da grande mídia. So you are empowering corporations and you are disempowering the professional. This is the problem. It's not that I'm here advocating in favor of fake news. This is not my point. I think fake news would be easily recognized as fake news the more the reader is enabled with critical tools to distinguish between fact and fake. Essa distinção de fato ou fake, ela deveria ser capacitada no leitor, e não que uma autoridade externa, não, porque a gente verificou e tem coisa que é absurda, e que o próprio bom senso diz, não, isso não pode ser verdade. Né? But anyway,
é uma discussão cheia de pormenores, né, professor? Porque,
sim, porque
por exemplo, tem
comunicação social no Brasil e a gente...
Porque aí você vê assim, certo, a gente não precisa de uma agência de fake, de dizer o que é fake ou não, mas tá rolando fake news a rodo por aí,
Ou
e a
ela
gente,
deveria
querendo ou
ser
não, tem...
plural. A minha questão é, a estratégia poderia existir, mas ela deveria ser plural. Ela deveria incluir a mídia alternativa, porque o que acontece hoje...
Sim, verdade.
Vamos pegar o caso do Maranhão. Quando se falou em regular a mídia no Brasil, muita gente resistiu e aí veio a interpretação de que seria censura. Não acho que seja um dispositivo de censura você falar, tá bom, cara, você tem uma emissora de rádio, então você não vai ter uma emissora de televisão. Né? Porque se você pegar o caso do Maranhão, por exemplo, né, o Grupo Sarney tem a Mirante, tem a Rádio Mirante, eles têm um jornal imparcial, eles têm um conglomerado de mídia. Né?
Tem o portal Mirante.
É do grupo do Lobão. Então fica ali tudo no clube, né? E você não tem uma outra voz. O problema do Brasil não é censurar a mídia, é dar voz às vozes que não estão aparecendo agora, né? Que hoje você tem só a voz corporativa. Você não tem um canal de uma associação da sociedade civil, um canal de uma OAB, você não tem um canal que pertença, com a honrosa exceção da TVT, que só passa em São Paulo, que é ligado à CUT, né? Acho que é o único canal de TV aberta ligado ao movimento social. Fora isso, né? Mas enfim, going back to bilingual situations. So, Helena, can you go on?
Yes. Então, foi necessária uma luta contra as probabilidades, porque a consolidação do inglês e a supressão ou negligência de um outro idioma eram políticas oficiais. Então, tinha a supremacia da língua inglesa que foi contestada porque existia uma diversidade linguística encontrada nas fronteiras dos principais países. Embora fosse uma minoria, essa minoria incomodava, né? E o que é mais engraçado é que tais países como França, Grécia e Turquia, por exemplo, tiveram uma falsa consideração com essa minoria. Ou seja, ele elevou a política do monolingualismo. Até porque, para eles, as outras línguas eram tidas como bárbaras. A gente até debateu isso em aulas passadas. E até que, em certo momento, o francês foi tido como uma língua universal por conta da aristocracia europeia. Mas sabemos que o jogo virou, né, amados?
Sim.
But, Helena, what's the problem with bilingual? Qual é o problema de ser bilíngue? It has a problem to compare multicultural education to the assimilation of traditional educational values in the English language. As if the bilingual language gets in the way of the real mother tongue culture. Some portray the mother tongue as national curriculum where speakers hold English as their second language should have as the first, so bilingual is correct. E até que é curioso, porque no período inicial, os Estados Unidos até que valorizava a diversidade de idiomas e mantinha um costume legal de não regulamentar o inglês como uma língua oficial, até de negar liberdades pessoais no idioma. Só que Philipson fala que no século XIX se deu a origem à promoção da tradição monolíngua e a ênfase no inglês padrão como marca de razão. Então, aquela tolerância à diversidade já não existia mais. E até que atitudes em relação ao bilinguismo e ao multilinguismo, eles podem mudar radicalmente, como no Canadá ou mesmo na Austrália, que nos últimos anos se viu um aumento de atividade de relatórios oficiais, incentivando a retenção de uma identidade bilíngue e bicultural para os muitos grupos étnicos representados na Austrália. Então, aqui a questão central é que não existe uma escolha direta entre o inglês e outro idioma. Isso seria aceitar criticamente a norma ocidental monolíngue que afirma falsamente que o monolinguismo é uma condição necessária para a modernização e que a multiplicidade de línguas é um incômodo.
A teoria da evolução ensina a gente o contrário, né? Quanto mais diversos, mais nós evoluímos. Nós precisamos da variação.
So, English needs to be seen as one language and multilingual framework, both internationally and within its core English-speaking countries. Então, o inglês precisa ser visto como um idioma em uma estrutura multilingüe, tanto internacionalmente quanto dentro de cada país principal de língua inglesa. Okay, I finished.
Okay. Do you see this tendency to take other variations of English in materials nowadays? You who are teachers, do you see this tendency of including varieties? Does it, and if you see, does it sound effective for you?
I don't understand.
Do you see a tendency of taking English as a language that receives the contribution from other nations, peripheral nations, in textbooks nowadays? Take your textbook. You have, for quite a long time, you have been using English Express, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it take the contribution of other nations inside it?
Not yet. I saw some NCL books that was increasing in that topic, but the audio files still in British or American English.
And when they are not, they sound a bit fake, don't they?
Yeah.
They sound a bit forced.
Yes.
So I think the first thing to promote this pluralism in language teaching and language learning would be producing our own materials and including our contribution, our accent, our lexicon in these materials, and making students aware of what language they are learning, with what purpose, and what are the possible varieties. Now, this is hard work. This is hard work. It's not easy to catalog all the possible Englishes, or at least like breaking down with the common sense view that English is spoken in Britain and US, and that's it. Or when we consider other nations, we put normally those hegemonic ones, Canada, but you hardly ever listen to Pakistani English or Afghan English or Ghana English, and so on. And this has a lot to do with the relationship between language and power, doesn't it? Remember, Crystal, a language becomes powerful when does a language become powerful?
When the language interferes in culture, in politics, in economic. So language is power in this situation.
Yeah. In other words, a language is powerful to the same extent its speakers are powerful. So empowering English means empowering the speakers of English. Empowering the way we speak English in Brazil means empowering Brazilians. Empowering Nigeria English means giving Nigeria the power to be recognized as a nation who speaks English as a native language, and so on. Would you like to contribute a little more with the seminar?
No, teachers.
Yes.
Can you write this phrase in the chat, please? Language is power when.
I think it's David Crystal who says a language succeeds. I don't know if the quotation is exactly the same, but a language.
So
I'll put my own words, okay?
I look in the book. Thanks.
Language gets powerful when its speakers become powerful.
Thanks.
So it's all about the power of those who speak the language. Any other contribution?
Teacher.
Yes, Giovanna.
He says a language succeeds when its speaker succeeds, and it fails when its speakers fails. And I think this is very interesting because although we always see English as something that succeeds and that's powerful, we only see one or two type of English being powerful. Because we all know there's a lot of Englishes, but we only know two or three. Like when we are on a site or making an account in a English site, they will ask you, which English do you speak? Britain English or American English? So we don't exactly see this type of diversity in any other place, not in books, not in sites, not in YouTube channels, not in anywhere. So Crystal was kind of right because he was speaking about English and he was speaking about all kind of English too.
Yeah. And normally when we ask which English do you speak and give the options British or American, we are erasing all the others. It's as if they were invisible Englishes or unhearable Englishes, if they didn't even exist, isn't it? It's like, which Portuguese do you speak? Brasileiro or Portugal? Ou de Portugal? How about the others? Don't they speak Portuguese too? This is the questioning that I think both Crystal and Philipson bring us to reflect about. So this English we learn is one of the possible Englishes. And with the globalized world, we'll have to negotiate this English we have with the English of our interlocutor. It's always like that. It's a process of negotiation. As any language, language is negotiating meaning. Meaning is not guaranteed. Meaning is not evident, self-evident. Meaning should be negotiated. Lexicon should be negotiated. Grammar should be negotiated. Of course, in a negotiation process, asymmetric powers will imply asymmetric results. Somebody is asking you if you could send the slides. So I don't know if you can write in the folder I shared with you, but I'll give you permission to write on that folder, and then you can drop the files there. Yesterday's seminar, if you could, would also be nice. Okay. I think you can use the file system in SIGA to send those slides. Well, do you have any other questions, class? Now let me ask you, the members of group 3, are you there? I think so, because we have 14 people in class. Is your seminar ready to be presented?
I think so.
Do you feel comfortable to do that now? Somebody said no.
Just Andresa said no. If Andresa said no, I will agree with her.
You agree with her? Okay.
No.
How do you feel about presenting today? Do you prefer to present it tomorrow? And then we have a bit break because I cannot move on without chapter 3. It's up to you guys. Well, we have two options now. I can assign you a time for reading Michel Foucault, which is already available. Did you start reading Foucault, by the way? Did you start reading Michel Foucault? The Order of Discourse? Yes or no? Not yet? Okay, so this is just for the group, okay? This is just for the group, and I want to work with a consensus. Does group 3 feel comfortable to present your chapter now, or would you prefer to present it tomorrow?
Tomorrow is better, teacher.
Tomorrow is better. Okay. So would you be disappointed at me if we leave this for tomorrow and I assign you this morning to read Michel Foucault so that we can start our discussions on Foucault right after the seminar?
It's fine.
Okay. So Michel Foucault is available on SIGA. You can download it, The Order of Discourse. Most probably, I'll give this class on Foucault in a kind of code switching, English and Portuguese, as I have been doing, but more Portuguese because the reference, the book is in Portuguese, so there will be the quotations and the edition I chose is the Portuguese one. So we'll be talking about the devices of language exclusion, of discourse exclusion in Foucault. So please read the book, okay, the whole book. It's a very small book, although it's hard to understand, I know that. Sometimes you are reading Foucault and you say, I'm not understanding anything. No, you are understanding something. It's because it's hard. But read it and you always understand something of what you read. Read again if you have problems. Read paragraph by paragraph, reflect about it, okay? And think how Foucault deals with the issue of exclusion by means of language. How language that he takes as discourse is used as a device to empower or to disempower people. And how discourse, which seems to be ours, is in fact social and historical. Foucault will try to bring the historical dimension for linguistic production, okay? So I thought we would spend more time today with the class, but it ended up soon, okay? Do you guys who read chapter 2 have another remark to make? Do you have any kind of
There's still
consideration
two
to make?
people to present.
Giovanna, sorry?
There's still two people.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Duas pessoas para apresentar ainda.
There are two people to present?
Yes.
So you haven't finished the seminar?
No.
I thought you had finished.
No, I have a lot of things to talk about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had finished, and in fact, I was a bit frustrated, but now I'm not frustrated anymore. Okay, I was a bit frustrated. I have to confess. So go on. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it's my time. Hi guys.
Hello.
Morning. My name is Raisa. My topic is language promotion. The present distribution throughout the world of major international language, how Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish, is evidence of conquest of occupation followed by adaptation of the invader's language because of the benefits that accrue to speakers of the language when the dominant language has been imposed. Language spread occurs in conjunction with force by some as religion and trade. The British colonial language policy will be contrasted with the policy of the major competing imperialist power, France, and an assessment of the significance for the contemporary world will be made. Initially, we shall consider some of the ways in which whether power promotes the language. Promotion of religion, language, and national economic and political interests have often gone hand in hand, even when the exertion of the missionary resolved around the tree of church and the dispensary, the school. French overseas language promotion has a long story. A Aliança da França pela propagação da língua francesa
Raíssa, we don't hear you. Hello?
She's saying she has problems with her.
With her audio.
Yes, I don't know
Yeah.
what's going
Yeah.
on.
I'll write something in the chat.
Everyone's having problems today.
Yeah, even me. Maybe she should try reconnecting her headset. Let's wait a bit for she to get back. Hoje tá difícil para mim também, que eu fui expulso do meu escritório pelo pintor e o calor tá... Tanto que eu já fechei o vídeo aqui para vocês e já tirei a camisa. Não dá, cara, não dá. É difícil. Sem ar-condicionado não dá.
Complicado, né, professor?
Fica ruim.
De trabalho que a gente tem.
Agora eu entendi por que vocês não me mostram o vídeo de vocês. Vocês devem estar tudo deitado na rede.
Coberto, a casa caiu.
Os cara só de cueca, as meninas só de baby doll, todo mundo comendo alguma coisa.
Começa a aula tomando café.
É, nem me fale que eu só tomei uma xícara, eu tenho que tomar pelo menos umas 3 para acordar. Aqui, a Daniela se entregando aqui, diz que está estendendo roupa. Ok, Raíssa não voltou, né?
I will go on then. If she doesn't go back.
Okay. You can, if you know the topic, you can advance the topic and then you talk to her later. No problem.
Well, I don't know exactly her topic.
Okay, but
because I was trying to focus on mine.
Okay, but you have a general view of that.
Do I?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was talking about English promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we all know France was a big deal some years ago. And that was due to the influence the French people had on everyone else. And English is not exactly different, right? Because as we said before, English is power. And the power comes from the people who speak it. Mm-hmm. And we have the USA promoting. Mm-hmm. I think we are calling promotion here comparing to the promotion of someone at a job. So they're going to promote. They're going to step up a level.
So can I make it a bit clearer then?
Yes.
When we talk about language promotion, we talk about promoting a language like making kind of, don't take the word too strictly, but like propaganda, like trying to spread this language. Language promotion policies are political decisions and the establishment of a project to spread this language to others. So, for example, we have many language promotion devices like music, movies, or so on that contribute to spread alongside with the movies and music the language. This is what Philipson means by language promotion. Política de promoção linguística. É uma política de espalhamento linguístico. Quase sempre ela é racional, ela é pensada. Does it help you to go on now with that?
Can we use those teachers who come to Brazil to teach English as a language promotion tact?
It's one of the possibilities for language promotion.
Yes.
For example, the missionaries. Let's think about the jesuítas. Os padres jesuítas que vieram para o Brasil na colonização. Aquilo também, além de uma promoção cultural, né, uma política de promoção cultural eurocêntrica, cristã, era também uma política de promoção linguística. Eles vinham aqui fazer o quê? Vinham educar, tá, os indígenas, né? Quer dizer, mas vinham educar dentro do modelo deles, da língua deles, né, dentro do padrão europeu de língua, de cultura ocidental, é aquilo que a gente falou ontem de westernization. Westernization não é uma coisa recente que vem com a globalização, né? A ocidentalização, ela é um processo secular, né? Nesse sentido, sim, o envio de professores ditos nativos, né, para uma determinada área, se pensado como parte de um projeto, pode ser, sim, uma das ferramentas de promoção linguística, mas tem outras que nem parecem tanto promoção linguística, a gente nem se dá conta. Por exemplo, muitos de vocês mencionaram que foram aprender inglês por causa do quê?
Música.
That's language promotion. When I spread music, the phonographic industry, the cinema industry, they play a role, calculated, projected role or not, but they play a role in language promotion. So having movies in Portuguese would certainly promote the Portuguese language. Most of the movies we have are in English or are translated into English. Literature, science, all of these knowledge, entertainment, and so on, that use language as a medium contribute to promote the language as well. You get it? Is it clear now what language promotion is?
Yeah.
It's inserted in our society that we don't know it, like we don't observe it anymore, because we have some things like we accept that a person that comes from another country and speaks English, we accept that this person will not accept that we speak Portuguese with her or with him.
Yeah, so we are promoting the other's language and we are not promoting ours.
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
your point. Okay, Giovanna, you can go on.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about my part now because it's the only thing I know. Okay, this is the last part, and it's called the opposition to the dominance of English. And I want to ask you guys a question. Can you think of a way that knowing English has made your life difficult?
Learning English has made our lives difficult, you mean?
No. If there's any situation in your life that made your life difficult by knowing English. If English has closed some doors for you.
Can you guys?
I don't think so. I think never.
Well, maybe if you speak an English which is not exactly the standard, and I take here my part, because I'm not really concerned with grammar precision. I used to be more concerned with grammar precision years ago, but not now. But sometimes there are those people who take 2 or 3 semesters in a language institute and they think they have the right to correct you all the time. Maybe it makes our lives difficult when we don't speak the standard, but in general, English has opened me more doors than closed them. And how about you guys? How do you feel about that?
Nope, no one.
These people are too silent today.
Eu acho que eles não estão muito cooperativos hoje. Gente, falem, por
No,
favor.
they are not. They are not. Let's speak.
That no, but I threw more responsibility at the chat. And I respond, great powers bring great responsibilities.
Yeah. E eu vou aproveitar aqui a discussão. Vocês, a maioria, são alunos finalizando o curso de letras, então imagino que vocês já têm um grau de maturidade maior. E aqueles que estão começando, please bear with me. It's not a criticism for everyone, mas, assim, em geral, tá? Na USP, na UFMA, na Unicamp, nas outras federais de São Carlos e Minas e etc., não tem coisa mais chata que um aluno primeiro-anista de letras vendo cartaz de aluga-se, né? Ele não pode ver um cartaz aluga-se casas, que ele vai lá e faz o quê? Ele vai lá e corrige, né? O inglês, ele pode ser usado como uma ferramenta libertadora, né? Ele pode ser usado como uma ferramenta libertadora de inclusão, a gente discutiu isso ontem, ou de exclusão. How do you want to use your English? Like to encourage those people who still don't speak standard grammar perfectly, or to exclude them? There are many ways of correcting someone, isn't there? Fala a verdade, aluno de letras não é chato? Quando vê um erro de gramática? Assim, o primeiro semestre, o cara acha que ele é o guardião do bem dizer, né? Não é verdade? É autocrítica isso aqui. É autocrítica.
Todo mundo já foi.
Todo mundo... Agora a moda é pedir autocrítica dos outros, né? Então tá aqui a autocrítica. Eu mesmo, durante muito tempo... Não, durante muito tempo não. Eu já tinha um sentimento assim meio rebelde. Mas durante um semestre ou 2, você fica assim, não, né? Tenho que regular aqui, colocar dentro de uma regra do bem dizer. Isso vale para o português, vale para o inglês, vale para o pessoal do espanhol. Não é assim que vocês sentem?
Eu fiz mais isso com o português. Com o inglês eu ainda não tinha um nível tão alto assim que eu... Na verdade, eu já entendi um pouquinho, mas eu não tinha um nível tão alto de inglês quando eu entrei. Mas com o português eu corrigia bastante mesmo. Aí eu parei com isso depois que eu fiz psicologia da educação, logo no segundo período, eu acho.
Eu tive vários professores de inglês muito bons, né? Tanto no Instituto de Língua quanto na universidade, mas tem um que eu jamais vou esquecer. Alô, vocês me ouvem?
Sim.
Que de repente o chiado sumiu, foi o áudio que ficou melhor. Mas tem um que eu jamais vou esquecer, foi no livro 3, né? E o método que se usava na escola era o seguinte: o aluno com dificuldade não respondia, aí pegava aquele cara de destaque na turma, fazia a mesma pergunta para o cara de destaque, para ele responder, para dar o input certo para o coleguinha, né? Para o coleguinha te copiar, né? Era um método behaviorista, né? E eu era quase sempre esse cara que era usado pelo professor para fazer a correção do colega. Imagina o empoderamento que isso me dava, né? e aí vindo de uma classe social, pagavam inglês com muito mais dificuldade do que eles me oprimiam porque eles tinham um Discman. Hoje, o que é o objeto de consumo de vocês? Acho que é o iPhone 11, né? Na minha época era o Discman da Sony, né? E eu não podia ter aquelas coisas.
Sim.
E eu me esbaldava de ser o melhor aluno da turma, né? E os professores sempre me solicitavam. O aluno falava uma coisa gramaticalmente imperfeita, ele fazia a mesma pergunta para mim, eu servia de input. Até que um dia, cara, eu resolvi me antecipar ao professor. O cara errou e eu já fui em cima, eu já estava tão autorizado a corrigir, eu já estava tão empoderado, eu já me sentia um tubarão comendo um cardume de sardinha, né? Que eu fui lá e corrigi o colega sem o professor solicitar. O professor olhou para mim, hey, do you think you're better than the others? E aí começou a me esculachar. Mas assim, na boa, sem perder a classe. Eu nunca esqueci esse professor e sou eternamente grato a ele até hoje. Professor Luiz Henrique Moschetti. Se ele ver essa aula um dia, ele vai saber. Já conversamos sobre isso. Tomei bonito nesse dia, mas nunca mais fui metido, né? E aí, talvez a partir daí eu tenha pensado em ser professor de inglês. Ó, o Jonathan, pega o teu. Pois é bom que isso aconteça, né? Professor não é só para passar a mão na cabeça. But how do you feel about your English? How do you feel English is used in Brazil nowadays? Those people who speak English, do you feel they have this feeling of contributing or of distinction? In general, I'm not talking about any specific person.
General distinction, I feel.
English is status. Everybody wants to have status. And if you read Gessé Souza, have you ever heard about Gessé Souza?
Yes.
Except from me, Gessé Souza says that our elites, they are not happy of being elites. They need to make sure that they are the elites. And how do they do that? By humiliating those who don't share that knowledge, those who don't share that economic power, those who don't share that cultural capital. So instead of passing on the knowledge, they prefer to display of knowledge is a social distinction too. Okay? Ok, gente, vamos seguir então?
Okay, so the author begins this topic by saying that he needs to put an antithesis to his thesis. So he presented a whole point of view in which English is the dominant language, and now he is trying to present the opposition to this English. And this opposition comes and came from many parts. Most of the opposition have something in common, and is a recognition of a linguistic imperialism. And as it was said before, there's always resistance to or for any kind of power. And language is power, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many of the points the author presents about how each nation perceives the domination of the English language. Some see it as a threat to their native language, to their identity, to their cultural values. Some see the language as a denomination of a small group of people, right here. Shows how English serves to uphold the domination of a small elite and of the foreign interests that they are allied with. And right at this part, I want to ask you something again. So, do you guys know how many people speak English in Brazil?
No,
A minority.
Less than
A minority.
10%, right?
I think 10%. maybe.
Well, 5%, this was from 2019, last year. 5%, and only 1% speak English fluent. They speak English fluently.
Oh, what a
1%.
coincidence. What a coincidence. 1%.
Yes.
Do you know the income concentration in Brazil?
I don't
Concentração de
think
renda.
so.
A
I don't
concentração
think
de
so.
renda no Brasil.
The same 1%.
Yeah. That's it. That's my point. Go on.
Yes, it's exactly this. The opposition to it, or the use of English, is basically to denominate, because the people who know English are the people with the money.
Okay, but
Although,
according to some people, class struggle does not exist, okay? Não existe luta de classes, tá bom?
it's not a real thing, guys.
E a história já acabou.
Isso é tudo uma
Segundo os
obra de ficção.
Segundo os neoliberais, a história acabou.
Okay, so Gandhi said that the English language alienates its speakers. And he even talked about mental slavery, which the language brought with it. There's also the colonized people who internalize their colonizers' norms. Some countries like France and Israel have laws against the use of English words in their vocabulary. Vocês conseguem pensar em como essas leis funcionam? Can you think about how these laws work?
E eu engato aqui outra pergunta. Vocês já viram leis semelhantes no Brasil?
No, I haven't seen it. Are you guys speaking in the chat? Because I can't see anything and I can't hear anything.
I don't remember if there is some rule about it. So I think no.
Yeah, please don't answer on the chat. Try using your voice as much as possible, okay? And answer this question, because this is a very important question and I have something to say after you speak about language regulation by law.
So
I remember, yeah, but I don't remember well. But I think there's just one part of the Constitution that talks about it, and it's just the regulation. It's not it's not a regulation. It's just the way that notifies that Portuguese is our main language, and the law that put the Libras as our secondary language, official language. But I don't know if have something about English or other English teaching.
Okay, there's someone hitting on the wall, which is not my painter, but remember I mentioned to you a project that has never been approved by a guy named Aldo Rebelo. Have you ever heard about Aldo Rebelo? Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
no.
Aldo Rebelo used to be a communist. He used to be the president of PCdoB for quite a long time. And it's expected from the communists that they are internationalists, sorry. The stress is internationalists. But Aldo Rebelo wrote a project trying to avoid Anglicism on Portuguese. And this project has been discussed, I think it was in the beginning of the 2000s. And do you think it succeeded?
No.
Never is accident.
And why not? What is your hypothesis for not succeeding such a project? If it's so good for the nation, if it's so good for preserving the language, if it's, at least they claim to be so good for preserving our identity and our culture?
Because it's not good for business. We have to keep international relations because we were or I think we were an emergent country, and we need these international relations with the biggest countries to keep emerging.
Yeah, this is the economic explanation, and it's quite valid, and it's quite important in a world in which everything is reduced to economics. This is true. But there's also a linguistic explanation for that. Do you think it's possible to regulate a language by law?
No.
No.
What comes first, law or identification?
Identification.
Identification.
In Brazil, we have this common sense idea that there are some laws that catch on and some laws that don't catch on. Yeah? As leis que pegam e as leis que não pegam.
Yeah.
Vocês acham que regular a língua portuguesa para preservá-la de anglicismos, mesmo que tivesse se tornado lei, seria uma lei com tendência a pegar ou a não pegar?
Não pegar.
Não pegar.
E por quê?
Porque a língua, ela é viva, e ela não vai ser uma lei que vai regular as interações, o modo da sociedade se utilizar dela. Não faz nem sentido.
There's too much freedom in the way we speak. Laws won't.
Okay, but in France, and Aldo Rebelo claimed that, in France we have similar laws avoiding anglicisms. And this law in France had an effective effect. So why not in Brazil? What is the difference between Brazil and France?
Cultural. Nós, brasileiros, temos a cultura do problema com regras, com leis. Tanto que o senhor falou que existem leis que pegam e leis que não pegam. E na teoria, né, como a Constituição é magna, ela era para ser superior, então não era para ter lei que pega e lei que não pega. Lei é lei, né, e tem que obedecer. Então,
a Constituição é magna, mas tem gente querendo fechar o STF.
Pois é, exatamente. E assim, a gente não tem nem a percepção disso. Então, assim, nós, pelo menos pelo que eu já ouvi falar, nós temos uma das melhores constituições, né? Assim, cheia de regra, cheia de lei.
Assim como nós temos o melhor sistema de saúde, assim como
Isso,
nós temos
mas não funciona.
Da internet.
Mas nem os governantes, eles seguem as leis, então como é que a população vai seguir?
Exatamente, não funciona.
O problema é que nós não temos um sentimento de nação, e o Gessé, eu adoro o Gessé, tá, gente? O Gessé Souza, ele fala isso, nós não temos uma elite nacional. Nós não temos uma elite nacional. Geralmente a gente fala assim, o problema é das elites. Mas nós sequer temos uma elite nacional com identificação com o país. A identificação da nossa elite financeira, ela é uma elite financeira, mas ela não é uma elite nacional. No sentido de produção intelectual, de produção cultural, de valorização local. Então, regular uma língua por lei...
Aquela síndrome do vira-lata.
Regular uma língua por lei pode funcionar na França, porque na França você tem uma elite nacional, você tem uma consciência de essa é minha língua materna, esta é minha cultura, desejo preservar, me identifico com ela. Para começar, nós falamos língua portuguesa, uma língua que não é nossa, uma língua que nos foi imposta, é uma língua do colonizador. Um colonizador com o qual nós temos diversos conflitos. Vira e mexe, vocês não... para cá toda a escória de Portugal, não é assim que o pessoal explica, sociologicamente, de uma maneira bastante equivocada, a natureza da sociedade brasileira?
Professor, repete aí rapidão, porque cortou.
Ah, tá. Geralmente, quando vão explicar o Brasil e as nossas mazelas, né, as pessoas falam assim, mas também o Brasil mandaram para cá só a escória de Portugal. Essa é uma das explicações que desforizam a nossa sociedade, né, que a representam de maneira negativa. Ou então nós temos outras formas de representar que vão lá no Gilberto Freire, no Sérgio Buarque de Holanda, para criar o mito do homem cordial, como se nós todos estivéssemos um convívio pacífico, miscigenado, não somos racistas, não somos elitistas. São dois extremos, são duas faces da mesma moeda. Existe um sentimento nacional, de fato, realista, calcado na realidade empírica do Brasil? A língua portuguesa com a qual a gente se relaciona, a gente trata ela mesmo como nossa?
Algumas pessoas, sim, uma minoria, sim. Eu acredito que existem pessoas que sim, mas, como o senhor mesmo falou, aqueles que detêm o poder, não. Então, se assim, o poder econômico e tal, que é o que rege o mundo atualmente. E se essas pessoas não têm o sentimento nacional, e também os próprios representantes não têm, como o Dani falou, não adianta não, né? Lógico que algum dia isso vai mudar. Mas não adianta querer que toda a sociedade mude assim da noite para o dia e crie esse sentimento nacional. Se o próprio sentimento nacional que é inculcado na sociedade é esse sentimento de que a grama do vizinho sempre é mais verde. E às vezes não é nem do vizinho, é do vizinho distante, lá da outra rua, lá do outro país, entendeu? Então é muito contraditório isso.
Então vejam a nossa responsabilidade como linguistas, né? Porque assim, para mim, políticas de promoção linguística, elas não partem do parlamento, elas partem do corpo que estuda a linguagem, do corpo de técnicos, cientistas, professores que lidam diariamente com a linguagem, né? Uma língua não vai suceder sem um grau de investimento em ciência da linguagem, em desenvolvimento de políticas de promoção linguística. E isso passa por ensino de língua portuguesa e um ensino crítico de língua inglesa. Não podemos sair por aí simplesmente ensinando língua inglesa como a melhor coisa do mundo que vai te abrir todas as portas, sem fazer esse apanhado histórico de por que o inglês hoje é o que ele é. Nós temos que ter a consciência de que sim, é necessário, porque não dar a ferramenta de exclusão é manter a pessoa excluída, mas também não podemos passar adiante uma visão colonizada, puramente colonizada, de que, olha, vou te ensinar aqui, isso aqui é maravilhoso, vai te abrir portas, você vai assistir vários filmes, você vai consumir cultura, mas por quê? E por que não é a sua língua que é esse dispositivo, é a língua do outro? Quais foram os processos históricos, sociais, econômicos que conduziram até aqui? Eu acho que se eu tivesse que resumir esse curso, essa cadeira, uma expressão que a gente usa em language teaching, eu chamaria de language awareness. What we have to do is have language awareness, consciência linguística, né? Mas, assim, eu só perguntei dessa questão da regulação, da oposição, porque para uma nação consolidada culturalmente como a França, que já foi uma nação hegemônica, que inclusive já dominou o território inglês, né? Já unificou os reinos, chegou a unificar os reinos por meio da conquista militar, né? Do conflito armado. É muito mais fácil oferecer resistência do que uma pequena comunidade indígena no interior do Pará ou do Amazonas. Oferecer resistência, por exemplo, à língua portuguesa. É muito difícil. Ninguém, nem nenhuma sociedade é mais uma ilha, ainda mais com o encurtamento de distâncias que a gente vê na era digital.
São forças desproporcionais, né, professor?
Aí tem tudo a ver com Foucault. São poderes assimétricos que acarretam em desenvolvimentos assimétricos, em empoderamentos assimétricos, né? E aí eu falo do ponto de vista econômico, mas eu falo também do ponto de vista cultural, social, linguístico, comportamental, né? Existe a normalidade, existe a norma que nos quer ser imposta como única verdade, e existe a resistência. A todo poder tem uma resistência. Agora, o que for mais forte tende a se consolidar. Ok? Let's go on.
Okay, so I put here some quotes of a colonist. He wrote about the domination of the English language, and the title of his work is kind of Nice. So, behemoth, bully, and thief. How the English language is taking over the planet. And right at the beginning, he writes, no language in history has dominated the world quite like English does today. Is there any point in resisting? And I would like for you guys to think about this. Is there any point in resisting the dominance of English?
Can you repeat the question again?
Is there any point
Mhm.
in resisting the dominance of English?
You mean if there is any group, any social group resisting to English right now?
No, more like if you could think of a reason why
Is there a reason why to resist?
to
Yeah.
resist.
Oh, good question. How do you feel, guys, about that? Is it good to resist, or is it so seductive that we have to give up and fall
It
in
Not
love with it?
reminds me the question that I made yesterday, if English is dangerous for other languages, and depending of the context, if it's like it's threatening your language, your culture is like to disappear. I think this is the point, and we think should worth more our native language, not get like forget about English, but put some things and coloca na balança and see what is more worth it for us. I think that's it.
English is kind of appealing, and when something is appealing, it's difficult to find something negative so that you would justify a resistance, isn't it? How do you feel, guys? Could you justify resistance somehow? Não, não, não queremos isso aqui, não. Não queremos língua inglesa, não.
as you said, resistance is natural. If have a power, we have a resistance. So it's needed to be done. For
But
me, it's needed to be done.
who's going to do it? Are we
The
part of
one,
this resistance?
what?
Are we part of this resistance?
I think that now we are.
Resisting is not refusing, okay? Resisting is receiving something critically, dealing with something critically. It does not mean refusing, saying, no, I won't take it anyway. It means, yes, I'm going to take it my way.
When I was studying about the linguistic body phenomenon, some people didn't want to speak English or to put English as the official language of the country because of exactly the way that English was introduced, like very violent, and the other countries like the metropolitan ones were like imposing as violent. So that's why there was resistance in this
Mm-hmm.
case.
And I think the English promotion policies are aware of that, and it's so that now English is taking its spread as part of a seduction process by means of cultural industry, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's better to receive something by means of a movie than by means of a gun.
The perspective changed.
Yeah. So it's all about culture. It's all about spreading culture and altogether the language. Yes? Go on.
Okay, so in the same article, he quotes Joseph Conrad. He is a author, a literature, I think, and he says, I value too much a beautiful polished literature to introduce into it my worthless twaddle. But for Englishmen, my capacities are just sufficient. So what I took from this is that he prefers to write his foolishness, his worthless thoughts in English than in Polish. And the English language being used the way it is being used does not only affect literature that is being written in English by people with other mother languages. The Polish literature just lost a lot of riqueza, vamos dizer assim, to this guy because he's writing in English and his work will not be recognized as a Polish work because it's not written in Polish.
Yeah.
So languages like German and Italian are changing its grammar and word formation and phonology because of the influence of English. South Sudan made English its official language despite not having enough resources and having more than 50 local languages. I think the guy who made this said that he wanted to communicate with the world a little better. So not only having the English language as the universal language will or is making us or pushing us in a direction that might end with the loss of multiple languages and cultures, it is also not giving us a choice of whether or not we want to learn it. And learning a language is not just about grammar or phonetics. We talked about this yesterday about the English culture that we try to learn it, that we see. First thing when we are trying to learn English is the American culture or the British culture. And I think we could use our beloved president as an example when I say that diving into deep into a culture can make you forget about your own. So there's that. I wanted to put a actual protest against the English language. So I will try to explain, kinda. This protest happened because it was a civil service examination in India.
Just a moment.
Yes.
I think the slides are not synchronized. We cannot see these images
Nope.
you're talking about. Now, yes.
There is one.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Great.
So civil service examination. Yes. I don't know if I should explain what the whole test is, but it's basically like an INEN. Okay, so people study the whole year and they come from very different places and very different backgrounds to do this test. And the difference is that there's an English part and there's a Hindi part. The protest happened because there were English words in the part that was supposed to be completely in Hindi, so they were not understanding it. This quote by Yadav, she wrote for India Express in 2014, and she said that this agitation is not against English, but against the dominance of English. And all throughout the article, she explained that it isn't against the language itself, but the fact that the test was biased.
O analista de discurso pode falar um pouquinho?
Yes.
Every negative sentence brings together its affirmative form. So when I say this agitation is not against English, but against the dominance of English, I presume that my interlocutor may think that this agitation is against English. Tem um implícito aí, tem um sentido que se quer interditar, mas que tem um inevitável escape. Essa agitação é contra o inglês. Eu trabalhei muito com isso, com os cartazes das jornadas de junho, quando se ia para os estádios e dizia: esse protesto não é contra a seleção, é contra a corrupção. Mas acabava sendo também contra a seleção, digamos, na medida em que ela representa o país, né? É um protesto contra o atual estado de coisas do país. Então, quando eu tenho que dizer que não é, sabe aquela coisa da afirmativa, quando eu tento me afirmar muito que eu não sou tal coisa? Olha, eu não sou ladrão não, tá? Olha, eu sou honesto, tá? É porque você tem ali a percepção de que talvez o seu interlocutor esteja te vendo com uma certa desonestidade. Então, você precisa reafirmar. É interessante só para a gente ver que, assim, existe a possibilidade desse protesto ser interpretado como um protesto contra a língua inglesa. E é por isso que é necessário marcá-lo como não, como contra a dominação. Lamentavelmente, a gente não estava com os slides sincronizados, mas agora ficou bem melhor depois que sincronizou, ficou mais compreensível. Vamos continuar, então. Who was speaking? Raíssa? Era a Raíssa que estava falando? Giovana. Giovana.
Yes. Okay. Where was I? Okay, so the test is being biased with only one language when India has 22 of them. And it goes without saying that those who know English, at least enough to actually pass the examination, are from a different background than most of them, which means they all have more money than the rest of them. And I chose this other piece by Manu Joseph. He's talking about the same protest. And he says, any battle against English in India is at once a battle of the poor against the rich, the village against the city, tradition against modernity, and the regional elite against a more cosmopolitan elite. So we are not only dealing with culture or economic or politics. It's a situation when all of those can perfectly apply. And everything just brings us back to I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm just going to, this guy. And he says how English serves to uphold the domination of a small elite. Again, we're talking about economic power. Can you see the slides?
Yes. I'd reinforce you guys to pay attention to the part in which the author talks about a regional elite against a more cosmopolitan elite. So in India, there is a regional elite. Now, it's what we were discussing about the Brazilian elite just minutes ago, okay? You can move on, Giovanna.
Okay. So the point is the English language is a form of privilege, and even in India, where the English language is an official language, it is still a privilege. The same thing can be said about South Africa. Just because English is an official language, people are fast to assume that everyone has or can or has the access to learn English, which is not exactly a real thing that happens. Okay, now. So in South Korea, English is not an official language. But do you think English is a second language in Korea?
In Korea?
Yes.
Yes.
Not
Totally
sure,
yes.
but I think so.
No. English in Korea is treated as a foreign language. And as Marina says, they, English foreign, I can't remember. But yes, is teacher as a foreign language. And even though it is not official and not second language, the pressure to learning is still very high. Some Koreans undergo a form of surgery to remove a tissue under the tongue to make the kids speak English better. So I don't know you guys, but have you ever watched a class of phonetics and phonology? Can you tell me what's wrong with this? Making a surgery to remove a tissue under your tongue to speak better?
Well, I was not your phonetics and phonology professor yet, so I don't know what perspective you had in class.
And you guys, there's like 14 people there. I know you can speak, so please contribute to the class.
Surgery to remove the tissue to
Speak English better.
man, this will
Doesn't
probably
make any sense.
yeah.
Esse é o famoso cortar na própria carne, né?
Yeah, we will lost the ability to say some vowels, some words,
When they are kids,
some sounds.
like 2-3 years old.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Eu estou aqui pensando no Michel Foucault, quando ele fala da política regulando o corpo. O corpo como instrumento político de resistência.
Literalmente nesse caso, né?
Sim, sim. O Foucault fala disso tratando da questão da sexualidade, mas tem a ver com a questão linguística também. Então, assim, existe uma preocupação excessiva ainda nos métodos de ensino com precisão fonética e fonológica. O que vocês pensam a respeito? What do you think about that? When is phonetics and phonology? I don't mean phonetics and phonology are not important, okay? Please don't take me wrong. But to what extent is it really decisive?
Phonetic and phonology is, I think that is a barrier. I don't know.
A barrier?
In some case, because, for example, if you are a Japanese, eu vou falar em português, acho. Os vocábulos, os sons que você faz são muito mais abertos. E quando você vai passar isso pro inglês, é muito mais difícil de você assemelhar a fala tentar assemelhar a fala com o nativo, porque são sons que você não está acostumado. E existe uma questão de dificuldade aí existente. Por exemplo, do português para o inglês já tem sons que já não existem no inglês, né? Mas é muito menor, por exemplo, que do japonês, que é muito mais aberto. Se você vai aprender a falar japonês, sendo brasileiro, você está acostumado a lidar com esses sons.
Eu ia falar justamente disso. O alfabeto japonês ele é vocálico, né? Assim como a nossa língua. Né? Enquanto o do inglês tem uma série de encontros consonantais que a gente não tem. Agora, eu pergunto, quando que a fonética realmente é decisiva?
Professor, só voltando no assunto do japonês, eu acho que a gente até pode citar o chinês também. Eu e a Natália, a gente fez chinês, só que eu larguei e ela continuou. E eu acho que ela pode falar um pouco mais sobre isso, porque no chinês, por exemplo, eles têm 4 tons na fonética quando vão falar com alguém. Então, tem que ver muito essa parte também. A fonética é diferente, tem alguns sons lá, só que eles possuem 4 tons para falar, para entonar e etc.
Respondo sua pergunta, professor. Vai ser decisivo justamente nesses momentos em que determinados sons vão ter um sentido dentro da cultura japonesa, coreana, asiática, né? Vamos dizer assim. Dentro da cultura asiática, certos sons vão fazer sentido que dentro da língua inglesa não vão.
Eu explico isso com uma piada, né? Of course, it's totally different to say I'd like to take the son of a beach, and I'd like to take the son of a bitch. Nesse caso, é totalmente diferente. Mas existe uma paranoia, e eu não consigo achar uma outra palavra para descrever, além de paranoia, dos professores de inglês com uma cópia perfeita da pronúncia padrão, seja ela americana ou britânica. Como se nós não fôssemos afetados. Eu não sei de nada, hein? Vocês estão mencionando gente aí que eu não conheço, não sei nem do que vocês estão falando, ainda bem que o chat não vai ao vivo. Existe uma paranoia em reproduzir o som do nativo. Nós jamais seremos falantes nativos de inglês. Nós não somos aquela criança sueca que o Laraia menciona, criada no sertão cearense. Nós não somos aquela criança do Xingu criada na sociedade de alta classe carioca. Nós fomos criados, a maioria de nós, no Nordeste brasileiro. Nós falamos Nordeste, não Nordeste, né? Portanto, eu tinha uma aluna maravilhosa, que é professora do NCL hoje, não sei se ainda é, mas foi durante muito tempo, a Viviane. A Viviane, ela é, se eu não me engano, de Lençóis Paulista, né? Ela é do interior de São Paulo, então ela não tem problema nenhum com R retroflexo, né? Mas, certamente ela vai ter outros fonemas que são proibitivos. O que a gente tem que ter consciência é até que ponto a minha pronúncia de maranhense, de cearense, de baiano, de pernambucano, vai mudar o sentido do meu inglês. Nesse ponto, sim, eu preciso me policiar e tentar adequar a minha sonoridade. O que não é distintivo, o que não é minimal pair, como sheet e shit, ou como, sei lá, tem várias outras, mas essa é a mais clássica, né, que todo mundo confunde, não é tão importante assim. E mesmo que eu pronuncie, eu estou num hotel, please, can you bring me the sheets? Please, can you bring me the sheets? Se o cara não for muito chato, ele vai entender o que eu quero. Have you ever seen the video of the Italian who went to Malta?
No.
At the end of the class, I'll play it for you so that you will see cases in which phonetics and phonology are really important. Italians speaking English, sometimes they produce very funny sounds, and this can affect interpretation. But as long as your accent does not affect interpretation, as long as you are understood, this is okay. You will never be a native speaker. And no American, British, or Australian, or Canadian will never be a native speaker of Portuguese. I had many foreign professors which spoke great Portuguese, but we could realize that they have influence of their native languages, and this is okay. They are non-native speakers, and they are completely understandable.
Conhece na hora, né, professor? Mesmo assim, a gente reconhece na hora quem é brasileiro, mesmo que seja do sul ou do sudeste, e quem não é brasileiro, porque mesmo que fale um português muito bom.
Yeah. So this subject, the whole subject of language, culture, and identity, this is all about language, but this is also about identity. And our accent is part of our identities. So there is a tendency, especially at the very first basic levels of English learning, in which we are expected to throw our identity away to assume another that we don't even have. We are just acquiring the cultural knowledge to develop, to get into, to get in touch with an identity, because you don't get an identity. You mix identities. So the problem of this paranoia is that you cause the student to get sometimes blocked to speak. He or she does not want to speak because he or she is afraid of making a phonological or lexical or syntactical mistake. And mistakes are part of the process of learning. You will never ride a bike if you don't fall. You have to fall, you have to hurt your knee. And it hurts. And language sometimes hurts. But it's okay to get hurt. Just a reflection. I'm a very heterodox professor. I don't like this orthodoxity of people who trying to copy all the time and then Só falta eles pedirem para vocês colocarem a batata na boca para falar como britânico. Eu não tenho mais essa mania de perseguir a pronúncia perfeita. E quer saber de uma coisa? Eu gosto pra caramba do meu inglês cearensato. Let's move on.
Okay. So I already talked about a protest.
Yeah.
And I want to know if you guys know another way to oppose to the dominance of English that isn't through protests.
Education.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe not talk.
Yeah, can you develop this idea of education as resistance to the dominance?
Treating the mother tongue as the mother tongue should be treated, and probably the foreign language as a foreign language. And as you said, that we can learn a foreign language, but not with the point to be a native speaker, as a secondary thing.
It's a mother tongue, not a stepmother tongue. É língua materna e não madrasterna. E embora aqui nenhuma... existe um senso comum sobre as madrastas, né? Existem madrastas maravilhosas, assim como padrastos bons. Mas o que eu quero dizer com isso é que muitas vezes a gente trata a nossa língua sem o devido carinho que ela merece, né? Ela é parte da nossa identidade. You should be kind to your mother tongue. You should be gentle with it. It's not because it's the language of the colonizer that you should mistreat it, because it's not the language of the colonizer anymore, because it's yours. You're born in it. Your identity is formed inside it. Your social relations are given by means of that language, so it's yours. It's not the colonizers anymore. It used to be the colonizers, but now it's yours. Assim como o inglês. English is yours. They gave us English, so now we have the right to decide where and what for we want to use it.
Professor, tem um livro do Sérgio Rodrigues chamado Viva a Língua Brasileira, que ele fala justamente disso. No início do livro ele fala assim: este livro é uma declaração de amor à língua portuguesa brasileira. Sim, eu disse língua portuguesa brasileira. Portuguesa porque foi inventada lá, brasileira porque faz mais de 5 séculos que a falamos aqui.
Exatamente, exatamente. Ela pertence a eles, mas também nos pertence. A respeito disso, é importante a gente tocar na questão do preconceito linguístico. Eu não sei se vocês acompanham o professor Marcos Banho no Facebook. Sim?
Não.
Marcos Banho, vocês conhecem, claro. Preconceito Linguístico, o livro mais famoso dele. E ele fala, preconceito linguístico, ele falava sobre os erros de português do seu ex-ministro, né? Ele falava, realçar esses erros não é preconceito linguístico. O preconceito linguístico é quando você o exerce contra alguém que não teve acesso à educação formal, alguém que não tem os privilégios de classe, alguém que não tem os privilégios étnicos, né? E que só tem aquela modalidade linguística para se expressar. Mas quando o sujeito fala do alto do seu privilégio branco, de classe social, e ainda assim comete erros que não se espera de um ministro da educação, aí já não é um preconceito linguístico, é uma falta de adequação de alguém que teve as oportunidades e não as utilizou. Então não se trata mais de preconceito, é um juízo de valor, baseado no papel que é esperado de um representante do Estado brasileiro, né? Então, é porque agora também o pessoal, assim, criou uma ideia de que, então não devemos mais ensinar gramática formal. Devemos ensiná-la, e devemos ensinar que ela não é única, e devemos ensinar que todas as outras gramáticas possuem lógica, que todas as outras, todo o outro léxico que não faz parte do dito português padrão é léxico também. e que foi consagrado ou não por questões de poder. O que nós não podemos é simplesmente parar de dar para as pessoas a ferramenta que poderia incluí-las, né? Porque o senso comum muitas vezes fala, vocês ficam aí falando que não existe erro e tal, mas na hora do Enem cobram o português formal. Sim, é verdade, porque espera-se de um aluno com ensino médio que ele domine a norma dita culta, né? Porque culta todas são, mas aquela que se consagrou como norma culta. Não ensinar isso seria um crime. Seria um crime de manter o excluído na exclusão. Assim como não ensinar inglês, num contexto em que o inglês ganha importância, é também manter as pessoas na exclusão. Mas que isso não seja uma perseguição de uma identidade que jamais você vai poder ter. Ou de uma realização fonética e fonológica perfeita, totalmente precisa. Did I make my point?
Yes. Can I go on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, still on this topic about the way to oppose to the dominance of English, we're going to talk a little bit about Elizabeth Root. She wrote a scientific work with, it was a research. She chose some university students and some teachers. They were native, okay, they were native English speakers. And she found that a lot of their students had different ways of dealing with a kind of opposition. She stated that one of the ways is through silence. You know, when you ask something to the class and the class doesn't say anything, right? Like it's happening here a lot. And avoiding classes with native English speakers, I think Natalia says something about this today, that she avoided some teachers because of the English. And speaking Korean in class in form of defiance. I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Defiance, that's okay.
Yes. Some of the students gave advices to the teachers. They were saying how the class could work better, could be better. And most of them, they were doubting the situation. One of them even said, I sometimes thought at that time, I don't have any reason to go overseas, and my school does not require students to take conversation exam. So why go to a prep school and learn English? So Korean does not have English as an official language, not a second language, but they are taught very early how to speak English. And I think they get to a point where they don't know why they are studying English and they behave in a certain way because they are trying to oppose to the dominance of English.
Right.
I put here some people. They are idols or singers. They are artists. So how do you think the media perceives the dominance of English? Can you look at these pictures and tell me who of these speak English?
Oh my God, I'm outdated. Where is Kate
All of
Bush?
them.
Yes, my favorite band is here.
Where's Mark Knopfler?
Okay,
K-pop, é?
here.
Isso é K-pop?
Yes.
É, mano. Fala assim não, porque senão a Daniela vai te bater, viu?
Não, eu queria saber, pô.
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys the nationality of these people. So this guy right here is Korean, but these ones are Chinese, this one are Spanish, this beautiful lady here is African, and this guy is French. This is Korean, this is Korean, okay?
And they
So
all speak in English, right?
they all speak English. Can you tell me why they all speak English?
Because of the media.
Oh,
Cala a boca, Débora.
the
Só,
market.
só o do BTS fala inglês, Daniela, nem vem.
Não,
Guys,
ele
pay
fala inglês,
attention.
mas é porque ele aprendeu com Friends. Só que aí os
Guys,
outros não estão aprendendo a falar inglês, porque a mídia está
Daniela,
guys, pay
Yeah.
attention. Focus.
sorry.
Okay, so all of these people, they, in some point of their lives, had to leave their countries to other countries. I am not speaking only America, not only Britain, not only Australia. They were everywhere, all around the world. But they only chose one language to speak, and that's English. So, do you guys think if I speak in Portuguese to one of these people, they will know what I'm saying?
Of course not.
No,
No.
just some words,
they
I guess, like, I don't know, olá, bom dia, te amo, maybe.
te amo. Yes, with
Então,
that pronunciation. So, yes, all these people they speak English, but because they need to move around the world, and the only language they have in common is the English. Okay, I really just wanted to put this because of the K-popers, but you guys understand what I was saying, right?
ciência lá, K-popper.
Yes, but there's like three K-popers.
Ok.
Okay, so a university in Italy decided that the masters and doctors should be taught and written only in English. Are you guys seeing the slides? I don't know if it's
Yes.
Yes.
okay. So, uh, university in Germany has 10% of its masters and doctorates in English too. And I just want to point out right here that the court vetted the action, so it wasn't put forward because they say that not only it wouldn't make a difference in which language the masters and doctorates were taught or written, the course were to be conducted, and that would be forcing the teachers to only teach in English, and that would be an act that would take away the freedom of the workers. And this guy, this colonists, he is a French guy. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's not this one. Okay, it's another one. Um, he was talking about a European language being lost, but not because there were no speakers, but because of the education policies, and that the masters and doctorates being written in English were or are slowly taking away the place of the Romanian scientific publications. So the interest in the native language scientific researches were not exactly happening because there were too many English being written. And the BBC also published something about the French protesting against the use of some words of the English vocabulary in the workplace. Words like web, job, newsletter. Europe has a diversity of languages and cultures, and I find it very interesting that each country behaves differently. Germany and Italy embrace the English language. France has another kind of behavior, and that is to protest against the use of some words in their vocabulary. Jax, yeah, this guy, this guy says, I think this is very dangerous because French language is the spirit of France. It will be a big mistake that those enterprises who want to make business in France impose their own cultural way. We French have been imperialists long before them. And we know how it works. So I do believe that it's now time to react and say, stop your nonsense. Respect people. Learn French, learn German, learn Chinese and Arabic, as well as English. I think this guy is in a very right way, okay? Because we all know American people can't just hear someone say something in a different language that they will not exactly be happy about it, even if you are not in America. But if you are in America, then, well, you need to speak English because you are in America. So why not speak French when you are in France?
It is
right?
interesting, this quotation. This quotation is very interesting because it's the colonizer speaking to another colonizer. So they are in an almost symmetric relationship in terms of power, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not a speaker of Yoruba talking to an English speaker. It's the famous El Sujo falando do mal lavado, né?
Sim. So last but not least, I want to ask you guys some questions. So would you be able to tell me why a language dies?
Esperanto. They dies because the influence in economic, politics, and cultural things. Laraya tell that it because the language is live, and when you have other languages that with other cultures, with a powerful economics, powerful and the influence of around the world, the language died.
Okay, someone else?
Tem
Maybe
pouco
because
de
people
Gramsci
don't
aqui,
use
né?
this anymore.
Uhum.
People don't
Sorry,
use,
Daniela.
and
Sorry.
no problem. I think that it's because people don't use the language anymore, or because the speakers die. Maybe the natives dies and they don't use because they are dead. So
Because there's no language preservation policy. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Jonathan's sentence reminded me of Antonio Gramsci. At at the end of it all in all, it's a matter of hegemony fight, a fight for hegemony. So if a nation becomes hegemonic and another nation declines, the tendency is, I'm not saying that it will happen, but that their language will disappear. É tudo uma questão de disputa hegemônica. E aí justifica, mas por favor não me interpretem mal, o termo que se usa hoje em dia nas filosofias de quem não fez a quarta série, é a tal da guerra cultural, né? Existe sim uma disputa cultural, é que o termo guerra cultural está gasto, né? Na verdade, o termo guerra cultural foi primeiramente usado na Alemanha nazista, né? Para falar, hoje se fala em marxismo cultural, na época se falava em leninismo cultural, alguma coisa assim. Tem um vídeo no YouTube sobre isso, depois eu posso compartilhar com vocês, dos documentaristas do Meteoro, que eles vão buscar no Goebbels e no Hitler as fundamentações para isso que o Olavo de Carvalho chama de guerra cultural e de marxismo cultural, né? Que é uma paranoia que só existe na cabeça de quem acredita. Mas existe sim disputa por hegemonia entre língua, entre cultura, enfim, isso mas não é de agora, isso é presente em toda a história da humanidade, desde as primeiras conquistas dos primeiros povos. das primeiras civilizações.
Okay. Okay, so we all know language is not exactly the exactly definition of culture, but it is a great part of it. So languages often carry years of changes, and it changes no matter where you're from. Even if it's still English, it's not the same. There is currently a language dying in a span of 4 months. When I first researched this, uh, a site said it was 2 weeks, and I almost cried. But this one said 4 months, so almost cried again. But well, a language dying in a span of 4 months, so there's already one dead right now. Some languages are colonized. We can use Brazil's language, for example. Maybe more than 1,000 before colonization, and now not even half. Some languages and cultures are dying out because of the process of suppressing the native culture mother tongue. And again, the example of indigenous Brazilians people language, or American or Australia, since we are talking about English. So, can you imagine waking up and not knowing how to speak in Portuguese? This is a question, guys. I am waiting for answers.
This
It's
is
going to be
rated.
sad.
I don't know, because if I don't speak Portuguese, like, would English be my native language? I don't know how it works. How in which language I would think?
Now, if I could ask a question just to put together with this one, how do you feel, or try to rescue in your minds how you felt at the very basic English levels, if you were, I don't know if you were, but I was, if you were denied to speak Portuguese in the classroom? How did you feel about that?
Aquele meme, professor, do. Professora, posso ir ao banheiro? Em inglês. Aí tem um meninozinho chorando assim no canto, era isso, entendeu? Basicamente isso.
Now, how do you feel about having your language suppressed in a certain context and not having another one to use? Because when you enter the very first class in English, in those so-called immersion methods, you are requested not to speak your mother tongue. But do you have another one?
No.
Eu posso falar quando eu tentei aprender a falar francês. E aí, tipo, o que aconteceu nessa aula de francês? Que acho que eu tinha quantos anos? 15 era 16 anos. E aí, a primeira aula, eu tava lá super feliz porque aprender francês. E tinha um monte de gente lá também. Aí, o que foi que aconteceu? O professor, ele começou a falar tudo em francês. E eu tava olhando pra cara dele, querendo chorar, porque eu não sabia. Eu realmente não sabia nada da língua, nada. E eu só sabia falar as coisas que eu aprendi em Madeline, tipo, bonjour e etc. Eu não sabia nada. Tipo, não é brincadeira, mas é porque eu tava com vontade de chorar na aula. Aí eu saí da aula aprendendo só gemar pedra e etc. Aí foi triste.
Okay, então, so it tells us a lot about silencing policy. Normally, who speaks in a classroom is the teacher, isn't it? And students are expected to listen, to be good listeners. Now, is this really communication? Even those methods who name themselves as communicative approach, they request our students to shut up, not to speak in the mother tongue, only speak English, but they don't even know enough English to express themselves, except for I am, my name is, how are you? So students are silenced. Students are represented in a receptive and only receptive role as just receivers. not speakers. This is the problem with the only English methodologies, with those methodologies that demonize the mother tongue. And you can cause both effects, and it's not guaranteed which one you will cause. You could either cause like challenging the student to learn the language to be able to express him or herself, or simply intimidating the student not to speak anything. This is the problem. Como que eu vou te retirar uma identidade e uma forma de se expressar se eu ainda não te dei a outra? That's why sometimes I think we should be more kind with Portuguese in foreign language teaching classes. We should welcome this language and deal with the differences, and gradually give another tool for the student to express him or herself instead of just suppressing. So I am in favor of gradually substituting the mediation language, the medium language used in class, but not suppressing the mother tongue completely. What do you think? How did you feel in the very first class?
Isso, professor, eu nunca cheguei a dar aula no básico 1. Eu já dei aula mais para intermediário e avançado. Mas eu sempre percebo assim que há de ter essa preocupação pro básico 1. E é engraçado porque, por exemplo, logo quando eu fui para dar aula no como é que chama? No CLC, né?
Uhum.
Por eu ter já um nível, né, considerado razoável de inglês, eu não fui, digamos assim, elegível para dar aula para o básico, entendeu? Acabaram me colocando no intermediário avançado, como se, assim, sei lá, pensaram que fosse falar só inglês com os meninos do básico, entendeu? Que eu acho que é uma questão muito mais pedagógica do que necessariamente linguística, né? Claro que é uma questão linguística, não deixando de lado, mas também é muito mais pedagógica, de como você vai inserir algo que é totalmente novo no universo de uma pessoa que está começando agora, entendeu? Então, por exemplo, como o Dani falou, isso aí pode traumatizar e a pessoa travar e não querer mais nem saber da língua, né? Ou de qualquer outra coisa.
Engraçado. English one is the one I prefer the most. Exactly because there are no não tem esses vícios no aluno. Você pode criar com eles uma relação em que essa língua materna não seja tão demonizada. Quando eu pego alunos de básico 2, básico 3, né, aqui no caso da UFMA, inglês 2, inglês 3, eles já vêm com uma ideia pré-concebida de como funciona a aula, de que é English only, e aí não pode falar português, e eu já tenho uma visão diferente a esse respeito, né? Então, o básico 1 é uma experiência que eu desejo a qualquer professor de língua inglesa. Ele é fundamental para você conhecer a dificuldade do aluno, para você saber medir as necessidades que o aluno tem, e gradativamente fazer esse processo de entrega da língua, né? Porque você está entregando uma ferramenta na mão de alguém, né? Você não pode simplesmente suprimir a única que ele tem. Essa é a minha percepção, eu respeito quem pensa diferente, quem acha que a imersão é fundamental, mas eu acho que imersão e poder de expressão têm que ser balanceados.
Eu acho que é uma questão de didática mesmo, como o Jonathan falou, é mais do que linguístico, porque eu acredito sim que a imersão é importante, mas no básico 1, a gente está falando de inglês aqui, que a gente pressupõe que as pessoas têm, pelo menos, conhecem uma ou duas palavras e vão entender, pelo menos, a didática da aula, mas vamos colocar uma língua que você não tem a menor ideia, japonês, por exemplo. Você gostaria realmente de uma aula 100% japonês? Como o Dani falou, 100% francês vai ficar perdido. Então, o que a gente recomenda, pelo menos lá no CLC, na NCL, onde eu vejo, é que a aula no básico 1 seja 50% em português e 50% em inglês. Aí até o aluno acostumar com o listening, acostumar a pegar algum vocabulário, porque se ele não tiver vocabulário, ele não vai poder falar, ele já tem aquele medo natural. Aí no básico 2 já sobe para 75%, aí vai sendo gradativo.
Esse balanceamento quase sempre ele é baseado na necessidade de cada turma, né? Mas assim, eu não sei se vocês já tiveram essa experiência. Tem alunos que você está lá falando só inglês, ele está entendendo, mas ele precisa confirmar que ele entendeu. Aí ele vai e traduz. Né?
Isso.
Eu dou aquela risada, eu falo, ó, obrigado e tal, né? Eu faço um baita esforço aqui para não falar português, aí você vem e traduz, tá certo, né? Parabéns para você. Mas é isso, é porque tem muito aluno que é inseguro. E mesmo sabendo que está aprendendo, ele precisa da verificação. Isso é parte, inclusive, do empoderamento excessivo que os professores têm. Ele precisa daquela palavra de autoridade do professor que diga, sim, você está certo. Por mais que ele saiba que está.
Eu, professor, no caso, por exemplo, eu tenho essa insegurança total. Quando eu estou aprendendo inglês, eu tenho sempre a impressão que eu estou péssima, que eu não sei merda nenhuma, desculpa o palavrão. E é isso mesmo.
Uhum. E como funciona essa voz de autoridade para você? Essa afirmação, sim, vai em frente. Né? Sim, é isso mesmo.
Ai, me deixa empoderada. Aí eu sei que eu tô indo pelo caminho certo. Aí mesmo que eu vou, tipo,
Dá uma
porque
paz, né?
como eu disse, aqui em casa é um pouco complicado de eu estudar, porque eu moro com muita pessoa, muita gente. São 22 pessoas. Porém, isso não me afeta muito quando eu estou estudando português, mas quando eu estou estudando inglês, inclusive essa semana eu até tive uma discussão aqui com minha irmã, porque na hora que eu estava lendo o texto em inglês, ela começou a fazer barulho e eu me exaltei. Porque eu acho que eu tenho que ter não é nem o dobro, eu acho que é o sei lá, quanto de atenção, entendeu? Para mim poder compreender o texto, até porque eu me acho muito lenta na compreensão de um texto.
Fora a vergonha que dá de você estar falando uma língua que ninguém entende nada, o medo do povo achar que você está ficando maluco, né?
Ah, isso eu passo muito aqui em casa. Eles dizem que eu tô xingando eles e tal. Para com tua graça aí, nem pra tua língua dar um nó e tal. Aí eu fico, poxa, não posso nem aprender o negócio.
Eu acho que a coisa mais constrangedora para um aprendiz ou para um professor de língua estrangeira é quando alguém chega e fala assim, fala alguma coisa de inglês aí. Mas como assim alguma coisa de inglês aí?
Sim, tem
Que propósito? Isso não é natural. Com que propósito? Né? Para dizer o quê, se você está me entendendo em português? Essa a minha dificuldade, por exemplo, de interagir com os colegas de UFMA, com os colegas professores, em inglês na frente dos meus alunos. Porque eu posso pensar assim, será que esse aluno vai pensar que eu estou falando mal dele? Né? A maioria dos alunos entende, né? Mas mesmo assim, parece que é um dispositivo de exclusão, é uma forma de se distanciar do aluno, de dizer que, olha, veja, eu comunico em inglês com os colegas e vocês ainda têm que chegar onde eu cheguei. Eu não gosto disso. Eu não gosto. Eu gosto mais das relações horizontais. Mas vamos continuar, então?
Verdade, professor.
Jonathan, acho que queria falar alguma coisa e eu acabei cortando ele. Era Jonathan?
Tá só. Confirmo o que o senhor falou.
Ah, tá.
So, if you wake up one day and you do not know Portuguese, if you're fluent in another language, your life is going to be easier. But if you're not, well, you won't exactly have a medium of communication. So, if, for example, you forget everything about Portuguese, but you know English, so can you, like the teacher usually do or say, translate your some phrases in Portuguese to English? Like, if I want to say, não, minha irmã, deixa de coisa, deixa disso. Or, rapaz, how am I going to say this stuff in English?
How can I translate in English?
How can I translate in English? Catar coquinho. How? Can please tell me how? There's no way. So I imagine it's not exactly the same thing, but I guess it can come close when a language is dying. Now, can you imagine being the only person who knows Portuguese and you do not know any other language? No one would understand you. You will have your own identity, your culture, and everything that a language has, but you are the only person who knows. You can't teach anyone, and no one is exactly interested in learning this language.
Now,
So,
what is the purpose of being the speaker of a language that only you speak if language is social? Yeah.
right. So, losing a language is not just about grammar or literature. You are losing your identity, the way you express things. And I dare to say you end up losing your personality as well. There's thing only your mother tongue can do, and that's a fact. There's things English can do that the Portuguese can, and that the English can do that the Portuguese can't. So yes, I think that's it. I'm sorry that I spoke a lot.
No, that's great. So, according to what Giovanna said, there is an affective dimension in languages. There are ways of expressing yourself that are only possible in your mother tongue. And there are many articles by linguists, social linguists like Gumpers, who deal with the phenomenon of code switching. And they will tell us that each language, in bilingual situations, for example, each language plays a role. One language is to be used with the family, the other one is to be used at work, the other one is to be used in uh, other contexts like tribunals and so on. Uh, I really recommend you read this linguist. I'll put in the chat. It's like Gumpers, his name, and he in one of his articles. I promise to bring you the title of the article next class. He discusses a judgment of a black man a pastor, who during the civil movement in the United States, during the civil rights movement, said that, in inverted commas, will kill Richard Nixon. And then he was arrested because of this, because he was putting the physical integrity of the president under threat. And the linguist had to interfere in and give some help to his lawyers, to his attorneys, to prove that in Black English, to kill someone is not exactly to kill physically, but to eliminate its political or cultural influence. So, yes, the chat here, just supposed to read the chat. So, thank you for the presentation today. I think you gave a very good panorama, a very good overview of what happened with the spread of English, the power devices involved. So today I think we learned that language has social function, but language is also a device that carries power together with it. Resistance to be effected depends on empowerment. And tomorrow we are going to have chapter 3 of Philipson, which deals with, just a moment, I'll drop my full screen here. Chapter 3, which is quite thicker, which will give us the theoretical foundations of linguistic imperialism. So Philipson will give us a theory, a set of tools to understand what he calls linguistic imperialism. And imperialism is not a word that is out of fashion. It's just a synonym for globalized economy, neoliberalism, or neocolonialism. There are many terms that refer to the same phenomenon in linguistic terms, in economic terms, in social and political terms. Okay, so how did you like the presentation, guys? I loved it. How about you?
I hope you all liked it because I spoke a lot and now my throat is sore, okay?
It was great.
Hope you get recovered. I hope it's not COVID, and it's not.
Deus
It
me
was
livre.
good for a lot of questions.
God me free.
Que Deus me livre. Como que a gente vai dizer Deus me livre em inglês? Não tem como, né? Só tem em português isso, né? Em português informal. Então,
Até para
gente,
entender mesmo, só em português.
exatamente. O propósito é que não entendam, né? Então, para amanhã ficamos com a fundamentação teórica, tá, do imperialismo linguístico. É um capítulo vasto, bem denso, né? Bastante trabalho para esse grupo. E eu vou reassistir essa aula à noite, na estreia dela. Eu vou botar ela disponível à noite no YouTube, para poder avaliar com mais isenção, com mais calma, né? Não quero ser precipitado agora, mas é uma nota alta, certamente vai ser uma nota alta. Deu para ver que houve o commitment, né? Agora eu não acho a palavra em português, o envolvimento da turma também em buscar referências exteriores. Eu acho isso fundamental, vocês não se contentarem com as referências do curso. A bibliografia básica, ela é básica, ela não é única, né? Gostei muito da questão de trazer exemplos práticos de resistência linguística, tá? Eu ainda não lancei nota alguma no sistema, tá? Então, o pessoal do grupo de ontem, se não viu sua nota, não se preocupe, tá? Será lançada oportunamente. E aguardo, então, pela apresentação de amanhã. Amanhã, quem apresenta são... Amanhã, Andressa, Cíntia, Igor e Jonathan, right? É isso mesmo, o grupo? Certo. Tem mais alguém no grupo que está fazendo como ouvinte? Não, né? São só os 4 mesmo, né? Ok. Então, nos encontramos amanhã. Eu peço a vocês que já vão lendo. Quem já terminou de ler o capítulo 3 do Philipson, todos têm que ler todos os 3 capítulos. Quem já terminou de ler o capítulo 3 do Philipson, leiam o Michel Foucault, tá? Deixa eu dizer para vocês até onde priorizar. Só um minutinho. Já digo a vocês até onde ir. Tentem ir, pelo menos até a parte em que o Michel Foucault trata da questão da loucura, tá? Ele vai abordar os sentidos do que significa loucura na nossa sociedade, ou melhor, na sociedade em que ele viveu quando escreveu A Ordem do Discurso, lá pelos anos 1970. Ele vai tratar de como a loucura é clinicamente enquadrada. Tentem ir até lá. Se puderem passar disso, melhor ainda, tá bom? A Ordem do Discurso. Nossa próxima leitura para a aula de sexta-feira. Está confirmado para segunda-feira a professora Débora, a nossa psicanalista, tá? Que vai dar para a gente os elementos básicos sobre subjetividade, a relação entre a subjetividade e a linguagem para a psicanálise. Vai tratar um pouquinho do sujeito psicanalítico. O sujeito psicanalítico é importante para que nós possamos entender como a análise do discurso lida com a relação sujeito-língua, tá? Já confirmei com Débora, e ela está preparando para vocês uma fala, inclusive com alguns exemplos de atos falhos, casos clínicos, obviamente poupando os sujeitos dela, né? Mas eu acho que vocês vão gostar bastante. Espero que gostem, né, de ter essa introdução.
Massa, professor.
Tá bom?
Massa.
Nos encontramos, então, amanhã, no mesmo link, tá? Na mesma hora. Vamos almoçar.
Valeu, professor. Um abraço.
Sim, eu fiquei devendo. O italiano ficou para Malta. Quem quiser ver, fica aqui na sala que eu vou passar para vocês agora. Não é mais atividade de classe, não. Deixa eu...
Eu vou para outra aula, professor. Abraço.
Tá bom, beleza.
Valeu.
Então eu passo amanhã. É melhor. Fica como atividade de extra. Vou interromper a gravação aqui.